right, here we are. We are live. I think it says it's preparing, and then there we go. We're live. Hello, everybody on Facebook. Happy Hump Day to everyone, I like to say, because it's Wednesday. I'm really excited to have Dr. Heidi Brocke with me today and Catherine Cahill with me today. Did I say that right, or do you want me to just do Catherine Porth?
It's Catherine Porth.
Yeah. Porth. We'll just do Catherine Porth then. Sounds great. All right, everyone, let's go ahead and get started on our podcast. I don't know if anyone notices I'm wearing this cute little, it's nice to be naughty. I just thought it'd be fun. Like maybe next week I'll wear a Santa hat or something. I just feel like we need to get in the Christmas spirit, and look at Heidi's background. It's like awesome. She's got like Christmas stuff everywhere. And I feel like I'm like the Grinch over here without any Christmas stuff behind me. So apologize for that. All right, let's go ahead and get recording here. Here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Lead Up for Women. I am really excited today for the guests that we have. We have had some abundance and success with our podcast. We are blessed to have so many wonderful interviewees that we've been able to invite onto the show. Many of you remember last week we interviewed Mark and Crystal Hansen. I actually went out and bought his book, his latest book, Ask. I have all of his books, The 1 Minute Millionaire, Chicken Soup for the Soul. Many of you might remember him. And then today we have Dr. Heidi Brocke with us and Catherine Porth with us. And I'm very excited to be interviewing them. And for those of you that are listening on our podcast, as you might know, we also go live in our Facebook group every week. So if you'd like to see these beautiful ladies and be part of the video, please feel free to jump over to our Facebook group anytime. That's where you can ask questions and you can connect with them very easily at the touch of your fingers on the podcast, or you can connect with them through Facebook. And we always recommend that you take this opportunity to get to know our guests and utilize the tools that they share today, because success really comes from having a full toolbox of tools, because no one can build a house without any tools, right? So if you're building a house of a business that you're putting together, you really need those tools. So we welcome them today. And I just want to remind everyone again, if you haven't been joining us regularly for our events, we do have many free webinars that are available on our events page. And we also have our Lunch and Learn coming up in the holiday, right after the holiday on the first Thursday in January. So I'm excited to have that. This is a networking event for all of you. This is how you expand your circle of influence. It's how you meet new women. Sorry, gentlemen, but we do this for ladies only. And so we invite all of you to be joining us then as well. And now that my house construction is complete, I'm finally starting to wrap presents, because many of you know already, I have 7 kids and 11 grandkids. So it's a lot of gifts. And I started last night because they all come over to my house this Saturday on the 19th to celebrate Christmas. So that is pretty much what I'm working on this week, is wrapping gifts. So I'd love to hear from you at info@leadupforwomen.com on what your most exciting part of the holiday is for you. Is it making cookies? Is it putting together gingerbread houses? Is it time spent with family? Is it decorating your house with lights and holiday decorations? My husband's got a new hobby this year. He is creating dancing lights on our house. Nothing I recommend to anyone to step into and support. It's going to be a long winter, and it might get done in 5 years. I'm not really sure, but it takes a long time to put this together. But I'm supporting him. I'm super excited, and I can't wait for my house to sing and dance with lights. Maybe by the time we hit St. Patrick's Day or 4th of July, we'll get there. I'm not really sure, but it's been fun. It's also been very busy. So take time to remember what Christmas is all about. I'm thankful for Jesus Christ, that he was born on Christmas Day and brings peace to my life. That's for my belief. What brings peace to your life? I want you to reach out and think about that and bring that peace into your life this holiday, and spend some time working on yourself, spend some downtime with your family. And of course, working on your business is always important, as you know, being in your business. So let's go ahead and get to having a voice. Today, our guests are talking all about we're empowered females. You have to worry if you don't feel empowered, right? We're born empowered. So when we don't feel empowered, that's when the red flags should go up, right? And I love that Catherine is all about let her speak. She is the founder of Let Her Speak. She curates women empowered events. She conducts female focused research and develops leadership education. She is all about letting the female speak. But Catherine, I have to say, this isn't how you started out. You didn't start out just this strong force that was empowering women, because I didn't start out that way, of letting her speak. So I want to go back and really understand and let our listeners really get to know you. Why is it so important to you that females have a voice?
It's a complex answer. Because usually when I get the question of where did Let Her Speak come from, there's 5 different answers I can give. It was 5 things that all led to it. But yeah, you're right. I certainly did not necessarily feel empowered myself as a young woman coming out of college with a business degree and going into corporate America. And so for the decade that I was in corporate America, it was a constant ebb and flow of sometimes I would have a supervisor who wanted to hear my ideas and wanted me to have a voice at the table and to come up with ideas and then be able to lead those. And then in the exact same week, then I would have somebody else that completely tears it all down and gives my ideas to somebody else to take and run with. And then I'm left with I was the idea person and nothing else. So I didn't really get to impact and contribute. So Let Her Speak was a culmination of a lot of different things, both in my personal and my professional life, of realizing that I needed to speak up more. I'm one of those people who has a lot of thoughts, but I don't necessarily always vocalize them a lot. And I was realizing that that's my own issue that I need to work through. But while I was working through it, I found that there's a lot of us out there that struggle with not letting our own selves speak. And so that's really the dual parts of Let Her Speak. It's both making sure that allies and other people are being cognizant of allowing other women to have a voice and to share their ideas and to take ownership of that and to give credit where credit's due. But at the same time, telling ourselves it's okay to use your voice. It's okay to say something and to speak up. It's okay to be wrong if you say something. It's okay to realize like I messed up but to still continue to say something and to speak up and to use your voice. So when I left corporate America with this experience behind me of what I wish I had done different or what I wish I could help other women do, and started working with entrepreneurs and women predominantly who were just starting out, I realized there was a lot of commonalities between these two worlds that oftentimes get siloed from each other, even though there's a lot of us that jump back and forth. Either we're in corporate America, but we have a side hustle, or we jumped back and forth between running our own business and then taking a corporate job for whatever reason, and then jumping back into entrepreneurship. But there wasn't really any way of these women connecting with each other. So that was part of starting Let Her Speak, besides my own personal journey of telling myself I need to speak up. And I just happened to be connected when I moved to Knoxville, Tennessee 4 years ago. That my anniversary moving here was actually 2 days ago. That a lot of other women were completely behind me. And it started out as a passion project and has now turned into its own organization in the last 4 years.
I love what you do. We are so similar in our beliefs, in the way that we take steps in supporting and empowering women. And like I told Catherine when I first met her, there needs to be more and more and more women. We need to find more and more and more women that are like us, that want to lead the charge in empowering women to really not be scared to use their voice. And we're in a world today where I would say 2019 maybe was an easier year to feel empowered to use your voice, depending upon where you were, what you were doing. And it feels like 2020, people are a little bit more nervous to speak up. due to so much noise. Maybe it's the noise. There's a lot of noise online. And, I call them keyboard warriors, where people have all these opinions, right? And I love that people have opinions, that, our veterans fought and died for us, to have freedom of speech. So I do believe in freedom of speech, but I also believe in respect, right? So if we offer that respect to others and support them in their opinions, then there's certainly nothing wrong, and we shouldn't be scared to speak up. But where do you think that fear comes from, Catherine? Like, where did your fear come from, for you to speak up at a time where maybe you felt caged, like you wanted to speak up, but was it a fear, or was it not an opportunity? What was it? What would you call that?
It's been a lot of things. One thing that we started this year with Let Her Speak because I've always done my little micro research into the community that we're serving as we grow and grow. But we actually launched what will be an annual research study called The State of Mind for Women in Business. And part of what I was trying to figure out was that answer of, personally, I know that depending on the situation, sometimes it's feeling like I'm not as accomplished enough as the people at the table, or I'm not as intelligent or have as much experience or expertise as other people. But then I realized, once I actually talked to each individual one-on-one, I realized, like, oh no, I actually do know what I'm talking about. And I have done the work, and I've read the books, and I know what I'm talking about. But it's when I'm with a group of people, it's much more difficult for me to feel like I know what I'm saying. I'm also more introverted. So I usually like to sit back and hear everybody's thoughts and understand their processes, and where they're aligning and where we're not aligning, before I actually impart my own thoughts into something. Which sometimes, if you're in a room of a lot of extroverts, there's never a time for you to jump in, when you're an introvert, and you don't want to be rude and talk over people. So that's usually what happens to me. But in the study, what we found too was that, when we asked the question, what's the greatest barrier personally that you're facing as a woman in business? The way that we conduct these studies, we're actually able to look at implicit and explicit ways that women are answering the question. And explicitly, essentially, like, to our face, women were saying, I don't have enough time to do everything, which absolutely is true. I mean, especially in 2020, the amount of extra work and pressure that was put on women within their households and outside the households has been greater than ever. But implicitly, what most women were feeling was that their own negative self-perception is what was holding them back. And so that's a big reason why in May, we knew that we needed to do something, and it had to be virtual. So we launched a new virtual program, and we covered imposter syndrome explicitly, and developed a workbook of mind mapping the 5 key archetypes of imposter syndrome. And I think through doing that exercise myself, and developing it with several women that I work with, and doing the research, I dug more and more personally into my own issues with imposter syndrome, and how it pops up here and there. Even though I'm fully aware of it, it still happens to me.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. And, there's I love that you're doing the research to share with women, the reasons why, right? Because that we don't always have the answer. We're not always sure why we struggle, with wanting to speak up. Sometimes it has to do with, or majority of the time, it has to do with, the fear of what other people are going to think. Because hands down, if you didn't care what anyone else thought, you would say whatever was on your mind. And I don't know about you, Catherine, but my husband joked around the other day, and he said, oh my gosh, I would love to see you walk back into corporate, the person I know today compared to the person you were then, and walk into a meeting. Because I thought I was very brave then. I thought I spoke out. I thought I was very opinionated, and said what I needed to say. And then, since I've been away from corporate America for a few years, I'm a completely different person today. Even in my confidence levels, they're different than what they were before. And so that, I see that I was restrained, and I was, not always restrained by myself, but by others. in my words. Like you said, someone would speak up and then someone else would tear that down. And so, you know, for women that are introverts, or women that or even extroverts, let's say, that don't have a problem speaking, but maybe on the outside they don't have a problem speaking and saying, but on the inside they're still worried about what other people think. You know, what is the advice in working with all of the women that you work with, Catherine, that they've shared in tips and steps that women can take to be more confident with letting other women speak, and feeling confident with not feeling like they're being bulldozed, right? But supporting other women and not feeling like we're in competition. You and I talked about that a lot on the phone, but also feeling comfortable with their opinion and their voice and what they have to say. What are some tips that you would give women on how they can confidently move in that direction if that's a struggle for them today?
I think there's been so many women who have shared so many incredible things through the events and programs that we've run. One that I continue to do, and going back to what you were mentioning about the person you are now and who you were in corporate America, I agree. I would be completely different if I went back. I would be a completely different person.
I don't even know if I would last a week and a half.
Yeah.
I might say, take this job and shove it up here, you know what, where the sun doesn't shine, and I'll see you guys later.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think I vocalized one time that I was displeased with the extra amount of work that they were putting on me that they weren't putting on anybody else because I was the responsible one. And then that basically like completely changed how they saw me the one time that I spoke up. So, but one of the greatest things that I think when I see a profound change in a woman is when she fully owns and understands the value that she has. But and it's not so much outwardly knowing your value. No, it is a deeply intrinsic to you. I know the value that I bring. I know my capabilities. I know what I have control over. I know what I can do, what I can accomplish. Nobody else can say otherwise because I know it so strongly in me. And that can be really, really difficult to hold on to when, especially with like the keyboard warriors and the criticisms and the people who don't know a thing about you and make a comment about maybe a video or something or a blog that you put out. And that one voice, if that one voice can topple everything that you know, so that you feel so profoundly, there's definitely there's a, whether it's an imposter feeling or something else, there's something that still needs to be worked on from the inside out. So I talk about that all the time, is that change happens from the inside out. So you have to be working on yourself first, which is exactly what we point to, is if we're going to change the momentum for women to rise up into more leader positions, it has to start from the inside out. It has to start with ourselves. Then we can move to changing the ecosystem of women helping women from the inside out. And then that can help precipitate the further, pool of tides that are rising to help out the entire communities that we have of seeing more women leaders. So that's the biggest thing, is knowing and owning and being so strong and this is what my value is, and I know it to be true, and nothing can shake me from that. Mm-hmm. That is one of the greatest things, but it's also extremely difficult, and that road looks different for everybody.
It's extremely brave and courageous, because the opposite of what you're saying is, to be strong doesn't mean you step back and apply armor. It's just the opposite. It means you step out and lose the armor and really become into yourself and be vulnerable to who you are. And that is the most courageous and brave thing. Just as Brene Brown talked about when she had her huge breakdown, that is the bravest thing we can do. And coming from corporate America, vulnerability was always spoken to as a weakness, but yet it is absolutely the opposite of that. So the more vulnerable you can be, to be willing to step out and not apply the armor to where you're pierce proof, but utilize your self-esteem and your self-confidence to be sure on who you are. And that is you. You are your own armor. You don't need to apply another mask or any other pieces of armor. And I love that because I use the analogy of it's not our responsibility to steal oil from other women's lamps. If we're light leaders and we're called to light our lamps to help other women find us from the shadows, our responsibility is to teach other women from the inside out how to apply that fuel, how to keep their light lit, and then now take and go and apply that to teach other women how to light their lamps. And that's our responsibility. It is insanity to keep doing the things we've been doing over and over again. The only way we're going to change the landscape and the blueprint of what women leaders look like for entrepreneurs and in corporate America is by disrupting the common of what's happening today. And we have to do that together, women, not separated, not in competition, not judging each other, not kicking each other off the ladder. If there's 3 available C-suite positions for women, instead of fighting for those 3, band together and create 5, right? That's what we need to be doing, not knocking each other down. And that's really why I started Lead Up for Women, was for that reason. So Catherine, when I met you, I was like out of my skin excited that I felt like there was a twin out there across the United States in Knoxville, one of my favorite places, by the way, that believed exactly what I believed and went through exactly what I had gone through in corporate America and really saw women for who they were and their worth and what we're able to accomplish. But we can't do it alone. We absolutely have to support other women. We have to sometimes lend them our voices until they can get the voice of their own. And that's what we need to do as women, banding together to help each other. And that's how we stay empowered, for sure. So Catherine, if someone is interested to learn about your foundation, Let Her Speak, talk to me about how they can find you. Talk to me about who would want to reach out, right? Who is the female out there right now? What is she thinking that she would want to reach out to you, to follow you on Facebook, to learn more about you? What's going through her mind, this female?
Yeah, one thing that I bring up often with Let Her Speak is that there's this sense with some women's organizations that you have to be at a certain level before you would feel accepted into that community. You know, you have to reach, whether it's a revenue level or a follower level or something like that. There was a woman that I had reached out to that's just getting started. And I said, I would love for you to be a part of our She Speaks series, which, Colleen, I know we featured you on a couple of weeks ago. And she posted a video on her Instagram of talking about, I don't know if this organization knows that I'm just getting started. And so I'm reaching back out to her to let her know, no, like Let Her Speak is for the visibility and the amplification and elevation of women, no matter what level you're at. If you are just getting started in the infancy of something, but you have an idea and you have a vision, this is a place for you to get that vision out there and to tell people about it. I don't care where you're at, whether you're starting over again later into your career, you've retired, or now you have something new and you're going after it. Whether you're in the middle and you're looking at converting your side hustle into something full-time, or if it's the very, very beginning of something. This is a place for we don't judge based off of anything except for you're a woman with a voice and a vision, and we want to help share that for you. So that's what I really hope that anybody who reaches out to us, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn under Let Her Speak US is our handle. But if you look for Let Her Speak, you'll see this picture that's behind me here. If you see that, that's us.
Beautiful.
And letherspeakus.com is our website. We actually have a holiday scavenger hunt going on that we're celebrating 25 women-owned businesses that we've connected with through the years to help bring visibility to them, especially during the holiday season. So that's also something that people across the entire country, you can all play along and get to know these women. We're doing highlights of every single one of them to get to know the women behind these businesses.
I love that. Thank you so much, Catherine. So if you're a woman out there with a voice and a vision, you need to be reaching out to Catherine. And I encourage it, because you couldn't be part of more too many women's groups. There are so many different women's groups out there that want to give you the tools and the resources to empower you, to allow you to speak, to foster that voice, and to promote you and to put you in the spotlight, just like Catherine talked about. So I encourage all of you to reach out to her because she is just such an amazing person, has such a tender heart, and is really in this for the right reasons, which is to help all women grow and lead and learn and inspire others to do the same. So Catherine, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for
Such a
having me.
pleasure. Okay, I want to introduce Miss Dr. Heidi Brocke, and I love, you've turned your past, it says, into a passion by providing hope, healing, and freedom. Holy hell, who doesn't want hope, healing, and freedom right now in 2020? If I haven't heard three words that don't apply to 2020, those three words do. So I have a good friend of mine too, Heidi, who's a chiropractor. And so you've not only been a chiropractor, you've served in healthcare as a primary care physician, an acupuncturist, a nutritionist. So you've had quite the life experience as a doctor for so many years in working with patients. And through all of this, through all of your time as a doctor, what is the number one thing that you find that is like the commonality in humans for every person? What is it that turns off that light for them, that is the reason for fear or suffering or pain or all these things that they have in their bodies and why they're seeking medical attention? I mean, come on, Heidi, you got to spill the beans to us. There's got to be some commonalities in there.
Well, you already said it. What I would actually say is fear. I think fear is because, we fear for our life, but we fear for 8,652 other things as well. And I think one of the biggest ones is the fear of the what if,
Yeah. And that physical fear, that we have causes physical ailments within our body, right? Mm-hmm. It does, like the signals for, so if we're afraid of something, I joke around and I'll say, when that book falls off the counter and your body jumps and gets hot and your blood pressure goes up and your pulse goes up and you start freaking out because you thought your life was in danger because you thought it was like a gunshot, but really the book just fell off the counter. But our brain told our body, and then our body reacted to all of it. Like our brain is the motherboard of our entire body. And so it's sending those signals. So tell me why did you go from what you're doing as a chiropractor in healthcare to moving to having your passion about toxic relationships, healing, emotional abuse, helping people that are with others that have narcissist behaviors? Tell us this journey that you've gone through and why you've landed where you are today. Like, I feel like you're in like the pool and the echelon of like what the goodness is of what you love to do today versus maybe the journey along the way. Mm-hmm. So what led you there and where were you and what didn't you like?
So you were talking way in the beginning about if you're not feeling empowered, it's probably a red flag. Okay. My life now is revolved around teaching people red flags, but when I was headed through chiropractic school and I got to leave Montana, I got to leave the dairy farm for the first time, and I was headed through chiropractic school. I had this huge vision of what my life was going to be like. And I was going to help all these people and it was going to be the best thing ever. And I was the only doctor in the family and, this big, huge thing. So I was feeling super empowered at that point. And it was at chiropractic school that I met my former husband. Which there is a story in itself, but that was 15 years of the most unempowering years I've ever had in my life. Which, again, long story, we could talk about it till Wednesday. But so I went from feeling like I had the world by the tail to feeling like, okay, I'm looking in the mirror. I don't even recognize one single thing about me. My hair was not the same color. I walked with my head down all the time. I got rid of all my friends. I was trying to raise 2 girls in the middle of it. And the only thing that I will say that saved and got me through that day by day was to be able to go into the chiropractic office and to be able to see the patients that were there so that I could make them feel better. Because everybody's always happy to see their chiropractor, right? And so I think a lot of that time that I spent in survival mode in a emotionally abusive, very unhealthy relationship, it was actually chiropractic that probably kept me going, because at least during the day, I was able to associate with people. I noticed I was a completely different person when I was at work as compared to home. Catherine was talking about how in certain situations you feel super confident and you feel like you're worth it. And then you step into a different room with different people under a different topic and you feel like you can't talk because you're worried about what other people think. And I remember I would go from the chiropractic office where everybody thought I knew everything, even if I was making stuff up. No, you leave that where you're confident and you know exactly what you're doing and you're leading people and you're helping people. And then you get in the car to drive home and every single thing about that personality goes out the window. And when you get home, you are unconfident, you're not worthy, you can't do anything right, you cry all the time, and you don't talk. So I had both extremes in 14 years of my life. And I got very used to compartmentalizing. Okay, this is where I'm safe. Okay, this is where I'm not safe. This is where I'm safe. I can talk here. I can be myself here. I cannot be myself over here. So when I finally left and moved, I basically relocated. I left everything, awful story, but I left everything and I relocated 4 hours away. And I was not going to continue to practice chiropractic because I had been convinced I was an awful doctor. I think Catherine mentioned that also. We can be powerhouses and then we let one person tell us something, and for some reason we can't get it out of our head. So when I moved, I thought I'm going to get a different profession because obviously I can't run a business and I can't take care of patients. And but it only took about 3 months and I was missing seeing patients. So I started a new practice right outside of St. Louis, just on the Illinois side. And that was 12 years ago. And about 6 years ago, I felt the need to do something different. No offense to anybody, but I can adjust people in the dark with my eyes shut. After 23 years, I mean, so it was
no offense to me, girl. I love my chiropractor. So I'm so happy you have that skill.
But you know, when you're starting to feel stagnant, you know, you're starting, not that I didn't love it. I was good at it. I loved it, but I started to feel like I needed something else. So I thought, you know what, I can coach in something. So I thought I'm going to coach in women making themselves a priority, because my former 15 years, I was the last one on the list. You know, last one to eat. I don't even have to tell you, you're all women. You know exactly what I'm talking about. When somebody says, do you want to get a pedicure? You're like, yeah, what is that again? Because before we get out of bed in the morning, our feet are already on fire on, we got to do this for the kids and we got to do this for the husband. And what were we supposed to do for, you know? And so I was the last one on the list. So I thought I'm going to start teaching women to make themselves a priority. And I did a retreat and I did a few things, and I really liked the coaching aspect. And so I actually hired somebody who could kind of just guide me into, when you're a chiropractor, you don't have to advertise. You referral. And so I did not know how to market anything. I didn't know how to run a computer. I didn't know any of this. And she basically said, well, everybody's coaching now. So if you think you're going to coach, you need a niche. So we're going to meet Friday and I want you to tell me what your niche is going to be. Well, with the pain in my stomach, I'm like, I've got nothing. All I have is chiropractic and healthcare, which I am already bored of. And so when I went back to meet with her on Friday, I told her, I said, honestly, the only thing I can think of that I could add value is the 15 years of a former life that I was in survival mode and had to remove myself from a toxic relationship. And she goes, perfect. She goes, that's what you're coaching in. And I was like, yeah, that is definitely not what I am coaching in. I didn't talk about it when I was in it. I'm certainly not going to talk about it now. But to give her the benefit of the doubt, I started putting the character traits of a toxic person out on my Facebook page. And it wasn't a huge Facebook page, but it doubled in 3 months. And so it kind of propelled me into thinking, I know I'm not finished healing yet. I know I've been avoiding finishing healing. And so I just decided, okay, I'm 2 feet in. And as I started telling my story, I decided to write a program. And now I do global toxic relationship awareness and healing all over the world. So in May, when COVID hit, I retired from chiropractic. So now I do this 100% full time, and I love it because it makes my past make sense.
Oh, that's awesome. You know, when we're coaching, aren't we really when we're coaching others, aren't we really coaching ourselves?
Yes.
It's just that constant reminder. And so when it is in your rearview mirror and you've lived it and you've been in the trenches, that is the best way for you to coach others through it, because it's in their windshield. It has to be in your rearview mirror for you to be able to share the experiences, to coach others on it. But when it's in their windshield, they can't see. They can't see beyond that. So you offer them the light, you offer them the opportunity for them to see that you can still be a strong person after this is over. It's like when people ask me about going through a divorce with children, let me share with you the difference if you choose to do it amicably with the other spouse or not amicably with the other spouse. I'll give you 2 examples of children that have come out of both sides of that, right? And what it's done to their lives today. And it doesn't look, you don't think about it when you're in it, because it's really, really hard. You know, it's hard to see past that. So what you're doing is so important.
And I think too, you know, when people think of toxic relationships don't affect everybody, but everybody knows somebody who is affected by a toxic relationship. But I use the word toxic because right now, toxic and narcissism and all of that is flying everywhere. And I use the word toxic as a blanket phrase because where I come from, this sounds awful until you know the point that I'm making, but I don't care if they have a diagnosis. I don't care if they're narcissistic. I don't care if they're bipolar. I don't care if they had a traumatic upbringing. At the end of the day, if the relationship and the status that it's in is not healthy for you, you need to change something. And I think the other misnomer is that toxic relationships are intimate relationships in a household or between intimate partners. Okay, toxic relationships are in every relationship. So I have clients that I work with toxic family members, toxic parents. Toxic coworkers. Coworkers. I have some women that I'm working with now that have been in toxic friend circles since high school. So even if you're thinking, oh, well, I'm not in a toxic marriage, my marriage is great, start thinking about the other relationships in your life. And toxic doesn't mean bad. Toxic doesn't mean this is a bad person, although toxic can be very mild to all the way, very extreme. But people in our lives would not be toxic to us if they weren't people we have invested in. Because if you check out at the grocery store and there's a crabby checker, you take your groceries and you leave. Like, the toxic traits of the crabby checker really don't affect your life. But once you've invested time and invested energy and invested emotion into relationships and then find out that they're unhealthy, that's when that relationship becomes like toxic. And it just means any relationship at any level that is unhealthy for you. It doesn't have to be a ridiculously abusive situation. It could still be, I just need to distance myself, or I just need to step back. It doesn't mean we have to cut all of these people off.
Yeah. It's so true, Heidi. And I'm glad that you really put that in a very simple bundle for everyone to understand, because once you've invested, that's when it tends to hurt, right? So, and look at all of your relationships and measure that. Are you in a toxic relationship? And do you have a way, Heidi, for someone in simple steps to understand if they are? Is there do you have like a checklist that someone can go through to say, like, yes, I am in a toxic relationship because I answered yes to these 4 things?
Yes. Okay. And it actually, the reason I have it is because you were just talking about the windshield and the rearview mirror. When you're standing in the middle of it, you cannot see it. All you do is try to fix it and figure out what you can do better to make it better, or what you did wrong to fix. So on my website, there's actually a small quiz, but then there's also something called the toxicity profile analysis. And when I wrote my program, I included 21 character traits of the toxic personality. So when I work with people, I teach them, they're basically the red flags, because toxic people attract to certain personalities. So if you're a personality that's going to attract a toxic person, you need to know how to spot the red flags. So when you go to take this toxicity profile on my website, it's long. It's 106 yes or no questions. And you will get a result that says you may be mild, moderately, or severely affected by the toxic traits of others. But the results that I get, each one of those questions correlates to one of those 21 character traits. So I, from my end, can see how many yeses you answer. So Colleen, say you took it and you wanted to schedule a call for me to explain it. By the results I get, I already know exactly what type of personality you're dealing with, because when you get on the phone, you're crying, you're upset, you're emotional, and the last thing you want to do is tell me 20 years worth of what happened. So it works as a really good validation tool for the people that are reading it, just to read those questions. But then on the follow-up, it really helps me understand exactly what type of situation they're in before I ever speak to them on the phone.
Yeah, absolutely. What a wonderful way to really understand in a simple steps to and go ahead.
I would say, and usually the people that are looking for stuff from me have already started Googling things about a relationship. Okay, if you're Googling behaviors in your relationship, you probably want to do some research, because you wouldn't be Googling if you didn't already have a gut feeling that something was not right.
Or if you're struggling with that relationship, or not understanding why this person's acting the way they are, or, you know, especially if you're in a really large, you know, both Catherine and I, and you did too, not too long ago, Heidi, but both Catherine and I, when we left corporate America and went to do what we're doing today, we had a huge growth happen within the years before we left and after we left. And so, I didn't realize that people in my circle wouldn't be ready for that growth in me, because they wanted the same Colleen that they remembered, but now I'm this different person, and maybe they don't like it. And maybe they're the energy suckers, right? And they're the woe is me, and they want you to, you know, be the one that shows up and hosts every one of their pity parties, but you don't want to do that anymore. That could be a toxic relationship for you, but sometimes you don't realize it until you're going through some changes. Then all of a sudden it kind of drops the veil to, oh, hey, that is a toxic relationship. Or if you don't even understand if it is, I suggest you go to Heidi's website, take this test to see if you're in that type of relationship. A, it just kind of validates it for you, so you know what's going on. But B, it can give you some answers, and then you can get on the phone with Heidi and decide, like, what's next? You know, where do I go next, and how do I approach this relationship so that I can.
And I think when you're standing behind the windshield and you're looking forward, we ask ourselves, why are, you know, what, we know everything they do. Well, they talk bad about people and they stab me in the back and they lie. We know exactly what they do, but until you know why they're doing it, they will remain holding the power card until you understand why they're doing it. And as soon as you can understand why they operate like that, we basically take our power back.
Yeah, it's so true. So true, Heidi. So I encourage everyone, how do they find you? What is your name out there on Facebook, Instagram?
So I go by Dr. Heidi.
Okay.
I don't know that anybody even knows my last name at this point, but and the website is coachingwithdrheidi.com. And then I have my own podcast as well. And that's on basically all the platforms you listed. It's called It's Not Normal, It's Toxic. And I have a lot of ways to find me listed on the podcast. I do have a support group online, also a private support group on Facebook, in case there's anybody out there watching right now that feels like they need a community. Somebody who has gone through an emotionally abusive relationship understands those that are in it, but people that have not gone through it don't understand it. So I think that's I'm trying to be the person that I needed when I was in it, so that people aren't feeling like they're walking the path by themselves.
Yeah. Well, let me know if you ever want me to be a guest on your show. I'm more than willing to open up about my mother.
Definitely.
Because I am sure I'm not the only one that has a mom like this.
You know, we were talking about the changes and the transitions that we ourselves go through.
Yeah.
A lot of times will use the analogy of, you know, before I started doing this and before I found myself back, I used to walk into a room and hope there was somebody in there that would like me. And now I feel like I walk into the room thinking, I hope there's somebody in here I'm going to like. Because, you know, she was talking about our value. You know, people that want to use you and take advantage of you, they want to bargain. And we as women need to remember how expensive we are.
Beautifully said.
you know.
Beautifully said. You know what we say, and I excuse all my kids if anyone's watching this, we are not bargain basement bitches. And so you're worth it. And that's just really the truth. You know, I love that you said that if someone wants to bargain with you or barter with you, then they don't realize your worth. And I mean, come on, we're amazing human beings. You know, God created us as queens, and that's the way we should act because that's who we are. And so we don't bargain with queens. You don't. Yeah. Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining me today, Heidi. That was amazing. And I plan on going to your website to take that literally. I would really love to know some of these other relationships I have going on around me, the toxicity level of those. You know,
I think it's eye-opening.
Yeah.
Because if we are, you know, toxic people are going to attract to your kind, caring, loving people. So if you're one of those people, chances are you're going to see more than one in your life.
True. Yeah, so true. Catherine, thank you for being a guest on this show. Heidi, thank you so much for being here. Again, I am always just in love with how the conversations go and the tips that we're able to offer women. So again, we can really live the life that we desire because ladies, this is your one life. So live it as a queen, live it to the most potential you possibly can that you have inside of you, and have fun, love your life, bring joy, you know, feel empowered to be you. So you feel sexy and confident and all those awesome things that we want to feel in life. You do not have to put yourself in the back seat or be second best. And I always love to end the show. And before I do, I just want to let everyone know, I hope you have a happy holiday, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas. If I missed something, I apologize, but have a happy holiday and a happy new year, and find peace. Find peace in your life because, oh my gosh, you deserve peace in your life and joy. Peace and joy. That should be the two things, and that's all we should be talking about for all of December. So remember, you are the only you that has ever been. You are the only you that will ever be. So how you pioneer your future, it's up to you, ladies. Nobody is coming. You must give yourself the permission to lead the life you desire. And you have my permission. So I say you just go with it. So be you and be strong, ladies. We love you. Have a wonderful holiday, and we'll see you in the new year. Take care. Bye-bye. Okay.